This is a touchy one. Does two-tier policing exist?
I think it probably does. And
it's all gone uncomfortable already. Well, I disagree. I'm not. I agree.
No, I think it does. And the way that I would kind of go at this is, I think the introduction of probably police crime commissioners was probably the first sign of policing moving away from being a service that isn't politicised.
Yeah.
The moment that you have somebody that's elected into a position that hasn't got any idea about policing procedure, but they're being elected under a guise of a political party,
yes,
it becomes a little bit of a problem.
Yeah.
And I'm not suggesting that they haven't been put into these roles and they want to do the right thing and they've got great ideas. However, I know that what's going to happen is that whatever political party you are part of, the police crime commissioners are going to push that narrative down onto the police forces that they're currently overlooking. And to me, it takes a little bit of the, I suppose, control away from chief constables, and that might have been what the idea was.
I thought that was why they were created, wanting to bring the chief constables to account. And if the chief constables were failing, that's why. But what they shouldn't do is they shouldn't get into a role and be led by blue, green, red, or whatever it is, and be pushing their own views, because that's where it comes from. So just carry on. Sorry to interrupt.
Well, I think some police crime commissioners are coming into it for the right reasons. But when you kind of see certain initiatives being brought out that, let's be honest, you can tell are politically motivated. For example, we've got massive problems whereby we haven't got enough response officers on teams, but we're spending thousands on speed enforcement vans. And we're publicising that. Now, I'm a big believer, speed kills, of course it does. But what is also killing a lot of police officers is the fact that there's not enough of them on response teams and people are struggling. Now, to me, that can't be the right thing that we should be doing, but that has got to be, it's got to be a political movement. And it's come from somebody that isn't looking at what the real struggles of policing are. And that's where it becomes a problem. To me, what we should be having is police crime commissioners coming in, and we should be having focus groups with them, sitting down with all the officers. Now, this might be happening, I might be like talking rubbish, but as far as I'm aware, this doesn't happen. Police crime commissioners and deputies come in and they sit down and they talk to the officers of all ranks and say, look, where are the problems? What do I need to do to serve you the best way possible? And then what do I need to do to serve the public the best way possible? And I don't think that's happening. And I think a lot of it is coming down from way above, and the kind of policies and the procedures that are being put in place and the money that's being spent isn't being spent in the right way because they haven't got an understanding of policing.
So I'm going to ruffle some feathers here, and I'm sorry to everyone that I do ruffle feathers with, but I put this out on social media and they asked the questions. So I'm being honest. We're not doing this for our popularity, for ticks or anything. We're doing it because people want to know. I think there is a massive issue at the moment with two-tier policing. And I think a lot of it, or I think most of it, yes, it's a political issue. And the reason being is because whoever's in government wants what they seem to be done right, even though we've voted for those people to be in Parliament or act on our behalf. They don't really ever act on our behalf. They react on what they want in life. So let's just say, I'm not saying we would do, but if I said, right, I want the death penalty back, and the majority of public say, 99% of the public say they want the death penalty back, and Keir Starmer don't. Keir Starmer, well, I'm not listening to that. I don't want it. So it's about, well, no, if the public say they want it, you should implement it. And when the public says something, and they're the majority, we put you in power, they don't listen. And I think that's the way it all comes for the two-tier issue. So I'm going to bring something up now, and I never get involved. Josh said to me, never get involved in religion, politics, and there was something else. You might know, George, but I can't remember what it was. It will end your career. But these are the questions.
So you're about to do it?
Yeah, I'm about to do it.
Yeah.
No, but these are the questions that people want. So one of them is, why is the certain people allowed to protest and other people can't? And then certain people allowed to protest, they can say what they want and do what they want. Then other people try and protest and are arrested. Certain people try and say something about one thing. And I'm not saying it, but you can understand what I mean. Most people understand what I mean. And one of the main things that got brought up are the Southport riots after the 2 or 3 children were killed. And where that people, grandmas, granddads, members of the public with no criminal record were literally oiked up straight away and sentenced for putting stuff on Facebook. And you had people that were waiting legitimate rape cases as victims, and they were still a year down the line.
Yeah.
And these people were put through the system, and within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, they were sentenced and in jail. And then they were letting out shitbags, proper fucking shitbags, on the streets to fill these gaps. These people shouldn't have been put in prison. If there was some sort of punishment to do them, give them some community service. But they didn't. They put them in prison to make an image, to stack it on the image thing, to say, this is what we will do, because there were riots. And what they shouldn't ever be, riots. Violence should never take place in anything. You can do more by standing somewhere, and I don't mean M25, but you can do more by making a point than you do by writing. All it does is cost the taxpayer millions of pounds. But they're the issues. And then people will say, because there's a lot of decent people out there, there's a lot of shits out there, but there's also a lot of uneducated people out there that will follow the pack.
Yeah.
And if you have one person at the front of the pack saying, this isn't right, all the other people that's drinking at local pub with them or whatever, will just follow, like football hooligans, will follow that pack. And that's what you've got. So you've got people that don't know what's happened, don't know, but they'll follow it because they've said grandma's been locked up down the street, she's been given 24 months for putting a post on Facebook. But then you've got other people in Notting Hill Carnival that have stabbed 4 people or whatever, and they're released on bail, and does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then that's when the class it as a 2-tier system.
Yeah.
And I believe everyone who breaks the law should be dealt with the same. And then whatever happens, if Mrs. Miggins steals an apple and Billy Joe shitbag steals an apple, they're dealt with the same. The only difference is if he's got 500 convictions for stealing an apple and that's her first offence, the sentences are slightly different because he's a career criminal and she needs to feed a family.
Yeah.
That's the difference. But they're dealt with the same. Anyone who breaks the law, nicking a car, they're dealt with the same. But yeah, if they're a career criminal, the punishment is obviously dealt with. But no one should be dealt with differently for the sake. I've put a comment on Facebook. I've been given 14 months. I've smacked someone in the face and stabbed them, and I've given a suspended sentence.
Yeah. It
doesn't make sense. The public are wise to this, and then when they're releasing those criminals, those shitbags, to put these people in prison, and they're all getting picked up in the RS3s and all that lot, coming out in the E7 tracksuits, whatever, and they look like shits and they're giving finger to all. That's where society now has gone. This has all gone wrong.
Well, the bizarre thing is that we lose the trust and confidence of people.
Yeah.
As soon as that happens, because nobody in their right mind is sitting there thinking that's the right thing to do.
No.
You know, we shouldn't be putting people in prison for, putting something on social media when we're not putting people in that are going out and stealing cars every night.
Yeah, exactly.
I've had it numerous times whereby, we'll do exactly the right thing. We'll arrest these people, and these are career criminals that are doing it time after time after time, and they get released on tag. And we know that they ain't sticking to the tag.
How the fuck no?
Do you know what I mean? That tag it's a tag of honour.
Yeah.
Because look at me, I'll show them. Or they rip it off. But
that's what I'm saying, that back to what I said about good people and shitbags. They just don't care. They don't care about the system. So anyone that doesn't care about the system shouldn't get the certain rights. But the people that has freedom of speech been removed. And if you want to put something on an open forum, you can put what you want on Twitter. Anyone put videos on of people being killed or in crashes. So Twitter's a free media source. You can go on Google and Google anything, it'll bring it up. It's a free media source. So if you want to put something on X or Twitter, Facebook, whatever, I don't have to read your comments. I can just scribe past them. If I read your comments, I don't have to abide by what you say. So has freedom of speech been, and I think freedom of speech has been taken away because people can't put, I'm not putting anything on saying you should put something on like, let's go beat so-and-so up, let's go kill this person, let's go do that. But what I'm saying is if I don't think something's right and blah, 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 they should be able to put that of what on. But you shouldn't incite racial hatred, you shouldn't incite violence, and that sort of thing. But that's not what it is.
Well, I think the problem with that is as well that it's actually not, the same across the board, because some people will do it and nothing happens, and then other people will do it and something does happen.
Yeah.
And all it creates is this massive divide in society, and one, it doesn't help policing in the slightest, but it also doesn't help society in general, because we've got this idea that, well, people don't know what they can and can't do, or what's the punishment going to be. And for me, if you're going out every night and you're stealing cars, that's a massive risk to the public. It's also something that, we shouldn't be sitting there saying, well, you know what, go out on bail. When we know the fact that every single night they don't care, they'll do it again. But one person puts something on social media and then we get a 15-month sentence, and you're like, well, how can that possibly be right?
And it's vice versa as well for police officers. And as we've said at the beginning of this, and we said the police is broken, but if a police officer breaks the law, they need to be punished. If a police officer does something wrong, steals drugs, whatever, commits a crime, you know what I mean? Like there's been some high-profile ones, but I refuse to mention the names because they just don't have the fucking time coming out of my mouth. They need to be going to prison for a long, long time. Yeah. But you'll have bobbies that are involved in a domestic with a wife. And we've had this as well. So how many people out there watching this now have had a domestic with a wife? And I don't mean wet police call, but had a shouting match or had a disagreement or blah, blah, blah. But where the wife calls the police or the neighbours call the police get there, and then we know, because it's domestic, one person's going to get lifted. First thing they're going to do is lock the bloke up. The bloke gets locked up. It's instant sackable, blah, 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 blah. They don't care what's gone on. And next thing you know, the bloke's sentenced to 18 months in prison for a Section 39 assault because he put his hands up like that. His missus walked into him and she had a slight little red mark there, and bloke's gone for like 15 months in prison. But then that will Billy Joe Scroat. It's an NFA job, or they'll lock him up, breach of peace, and let him out next day. Yeah. It's just everything's not done on the same level as what it should be doing. And that's why I think there is this massive issue. And again, we've said this, we're being watched by the government for these videos. We know we are. And I hope people like Starmer and Yvette Cooper and all this, I hope that they do get brought to their attention, because we think they are doing, and we've been told. But there is a massive issue. And for him to stand there, or for them to stand there and say there isn't, there is. Because the evidence is there, people know, and people don't want this.
Well, the issue is that's a question that somebody's asked.
Yeah.
So it clearly is something that is of a concern for people. And as a member of the public, if you look at what is going on, you will look at it and you think, well, this cannot be right at all. So yeah, I completely agree with that. There probably is a two-tier element to it at the minute. But the problem is it's not just policing, it's also in terms of the sentencing as well. Because I think people sometimes get confused with policing and what the sentences are. Yeah. And the reality is that all you can do as a police officer is make the arrest, present the evidence, and then...
Not to do with us.
Yeah. And the problem is that sometimes when somebody is given bail, they'll say, well, the police do nothing. Well, no, we've done everything we possibly can, actually. Yeah. Everything we possibly can to do, and we've presented the evidence, and this is the decision the courts have made. Yeah. And that's where there is sometimes a disconnect on what people believe the police can do and what they do.
Last but not least then, if you had a magic wand now and you could wave it about for the police in the regards to the two tiers, and I don't mean like, oh, we'll make it all the same, what would you want to achieve? If you could turn around now to someone in high in government, or you had a magic wand, what would you do?
Well, if I had a magic wand, the first thing I'd want is to bring back a bit of confidence. And I know that sounds very generic, but at the minute there is no confidence. We've got people that are looking at what the police do, and people are disillusioned with it. We've got the officers that are disillusioned because they're putting people in front of the courts and it's not happening. And that's making people feel that they're not worthwhile, or they're not doing, or the job isn't worth doing. And that's a real shame. But you've also got members of the public that are looking at it and going, on a second. Why is this happening? For me, if I had a magic wand, then I could bring back confidence. I don't know how you create confidence. And that's the problem.
Do it seem to be doing something good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the problem. For me, there needs to be an element of, well, we need to kind of show the officers that this isn't happening, and we also need to show the public that there is a little bit of a level playing field here. And if you're going to do something, this is what's going to happen. If you do this is going to happen. But at the minute, that's not happening. And it creates, one, it gives the criminals confidence. That's the biggest problem, because you'll have people that go, I ain't bothered if I get caught.
Yeah.
Because I know I'm going to be out tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that creates problems for society, because then what happens is we've got these people that will just do whatever they want and they don't fear the consequences. But then you've got the public that are sitting there going, well, the police don't do anything. And that's the lack of confidence in the police. But the police are trying to do everything they possibly can, and then they're being let down by the court system.
So what I were going to say is, because you hit the nail on the head, which is leading to the next video, there should be a three-tier structure, and they should be responsible for each part. So, and then we have nothing to do. So you said we're all aligned in this. We lock them up, we put them away. It's not to do with police. What the police do is we should have our box, and we're in our box. And then we do, it's like arrested, and then we get a big beep, green light comes on, arrested, charged and everything. Then it's nothing to do, and it's literally, we've done our bit. We've collated our evidence, we've done our bit. The next bit, then the box needs to fall into CPS. And CPS need to be justifying why they're not running something, why they're going NFA, why they are running something, and it needs to be clear and transparent, because you try and get court records, court cases, or why something's been, and you know yourself, we could have the massive pursuit, Billy Joe's shitbag, we pursue them all over, it's on body worn, it's on dash cam, we've got a massive cramp in my leg, sorry, just trying to stretch my leg, it's on body worn, it's on dash cam, we've got 20 witnesses, he runs across the field, we lock him up, blah, 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 we get called on his rest days, we go to court, and as soon as we walk in CPS, right, we've dropped this. Well, why have we dropped it? That's it, we just get told it's been dropped. That should never happen. CPS then, or anyone in that section there, needs to be held accountable for what they've done and what they're doing. So it's like, oh, well, police have done a great job, and then it's down to CPS, or CPS, or they've done this. A barrister's dropped this, and they're accountable for that. So we might put 400 people a month in front of the court, or to the court, or to CPS, and CPS might only run 13 of them. Well, why? And then either CPS say, well, files aren't good enough, and it comes up on a scale. This isn't good enough, or we didn't decide this, we didn't decide that. And then if, just say 400 people arrested, goes to CPS put 400 people in front of the courts, it's then down to the courts, they're in a separate box, and they've got to justify their actions. Well, you were NFA'd. Well, tell me why you were NFA'd.
You know, the other thing about this as well, do you know that on social media, you'll sometimes get forces putting good news stories, and then they'll do the good news story, and then at the bottom they'll say, well, this person got X amount of time.
Yeah.
And then all the comments will be, what a joke, what a joke, what a joke. And it's aimed at the police. Why don't we on that say, well, we did everything we possibly could, and the courts decided this.
But they won't, because they're scared of their own shadows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah. You should put it on that. It's down. It's being charged. CPS has to charge. We have charged. It's now down to CPS in the court system.
Yeah.
Result for the police down to CPS in the court system decide. But the judges now need to decide X, Y, and Z, why it's been dropped, NFA'd, why they made the decision and rationale. And you should be going on a search. And Billy Joe Scott, we're in this pursuit. CPS have said, yeah, it's good enough to charge, blah, blah, the courts, and why they've issued the punishment.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's all the police's fault altogether, and it's wrong.
Yeah.
But that's our next question. So, are you happy?
Yeah.
Right. See you next time for some more questions.